Hola, ¿qué tal? No, I wanted to talk about something today that was going through my mind, which is brought about by actually a post I saw on Facebook. A post that a friend of my significant other posted, Beth. Um, I'm not going to give you a whole name, but she said something about how we needed to, she was talking about the current Democratic debates that we have, and this could be years old when you're watching it, but we're currently in the beginning of the 2020 election campaign, and they have like 20 different, more than 20 Democratic candidates that are lined up to try to win. Now, I'm not sure really the reasoning behind a lot of these people, why they're doing it. I think a lot of them want to get their names out there this year so that in 4 years down the road, they may already be household names by that time. So that's what I think. Because sometimes people run for president and they don't get it the first time or even the second time. They have to run like 3 times before they even win. That doesn't always happen, but that happens a lot. I mean, Nixon ran several times, and Reagan ran a couple of times, and they had to run a couple times before they actually won. And I know it was the case, this same back in the old days too. So what I wanted to say was that there was another guy there who was answering her back, saying something about how all of these Democrats are just given away, and that there's nothing we can really do. And it seems to me that this is the way that people think in the United States now. There's been a change over many recent years and since 1980. I think I've talked about this before, but everybody thinks that nothing is possible anymore in the United States. We cannot improve the United States. We have to just live like we have been living in the last few years, just hand to mouth, dog eat dog kind of a world. It seems to me that you have to be a little bit more optimistic about the future of America than what most of these people are telling you. The thing that has been indoctrinated to the mass population of the United States is that there is no hope that we can improve the United States because the government is no good. There's this Ayn Rand, this Milton Friedman, Barry Goldwater, Ronald Reagan, this attitude that the government is no good, you can't do anything, the government's just getting in the way, and there's nothing that we can do to improve the United States with the use of the government. We need free enterprise, and that's the only way that we've ever improved the country. And I just got done reading a book by Milton Friedman. Actually, I read it about 3/4 of the way, and I put it down. He was getting into the part about attacking the national health care plans in other countries, saying they'll never last, it'll never work. He wrote this book in 1980, and he's saying the same thing then about the British and the German and the French and the Canadian systems, saying that they're just going to go bankrupt. They'll go bankrupt soon, and that if the United States thinks they can do that, there's nothing. Well, that was written in 1980, and those countries have a perfectly functioning healthcare system now, but we don't. Let me just talk briefly for a second about healthcare, because I've said this before, and this is not my original idea, but we in the United States do have some national health care, as you probably know. There's Medicare, there's the Veterans Administration, and there's Medicaid. And the thing about all three of those government programs is that they do cover those people for less per person than the private healthcare industry does, which is amazing considering the fact that the government is taking all the bad bets. What is an insurance company? What is insurance essentially but a bookie? You know, he's betting that you are going to not get sick, and you're betting that you are going to get sick. You're going to same thing with your car. The insurance company insures you, betting that you're not going to get in an accident, and you're betting that you are going to get in an accident. See, it's because what they've done is they have these people who do the statistics. I forget what they're called now, but they figure out how much money to charge this person or that person, depending upon their age and their record of how they've been in the past, and they decide that they need to charge a certain amount of money in order to make a profit. And if they can't make a profit, they're going to raise the amount of money they have to charge. Otherwise, they'll just say, I'm not going to insure that. I'm not taking that bet. Well, look at the healthcare system in America. The government, when they're Medicare, Medicaid, and Veterans Administrations, are taking all the bad bets. In other words, the private insurance companies are taking the good bets. Who isn't in private insurance? It's generally younger people who have a job, younger people who are vital and active people, and those are the people who are least likely to get sick. And who does the government cover? They cover veterans who were injured in the war, a lot of them, so they're already losing money on those people, right? Those are all bad bets. And then they're covering old people. Gee, do old people get sick more often than young people? Do old people have catastrophic long-term illnesses more than young people? Think about that for a second. Of course they do. And then they cover the poorest people. People who, don't, generally poor people take worse care of themselves. They generally are obese and they smoke. But you got to consider something else, too. Better than 50% of the children born in America last year were born under Medicaid. So my point being that when they tell you that we can't work a national health care plan, well, that's just the most ridiculous. That's just a lie. It's a cheat and lie. Because who would be covered who isn't covered now by the government? The good bets, the healthy people. The government already covers all the sick people. They cover the bad bets. It would be if we took all the Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, not Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and Veterans Administration people, and all the other people, and put them all in the same pool. It would, per capita, we would pay less by far than what the government is paying right now, because we would get all the healthy people into the healthcare system. They would be paying in, and so would the sick, so would the old people, and so would the injured veterans, and so would the poor people. So, just as an example, and my point being is that there are so many people on the right who just haven't thought that through very carefully. They don't understand that we're getting ripped off here. And the reason is because there's a media, there's the right-wing media and a lot of commercials on television, and I listen to these guys talk, and they tell you nothing like that we can't do that. The government can't do anything right, they tell you. Well, that's propaganda. That's a lie. Now, then there's a lot of the Democrats talking about we're going to pay off school loans, or we're going to raise the minimum wage, or, these things sound expensive. But wasn't it expensive to cut the corporate taxes down to the lowest level ever? Wasn't it expensive to cut the top minimum tax rate to billionaires and millionaires to the lowest level ever since they had income taxes? I mean, yeah. We could afford that, but we can't afford to send our kids to school. You got to understand that This is money that would go right back into the economy. It's called the multiplier effect. If we, let's say, all these people who are currently stuck with a $250,000 school loans and so forth, had a way to, we assist them in paying those school loans off. Let's say that happened, okay? That money that they are not spending now in the economy because they're spending it on paying back their school loan would be reinvested then back into the American local economies. That money would go, it wouldn't just, if you get a rich guy a tax break, he isn't going to put that money back into the local economy. He already has all the money he needs to support himself comfortably. You know, a guy who has $1 billion, if he gets another $1 billion, well, what's he going to do? Just say, oh, I'm going to have to buy another yacht? You know, he's got everything he can possibly need already, so he's not going to go out and spend that money. That's the point. Except maybe he'll buy the world's most expensive art treasures, or he'll buy things that don't really contribute to the local economy. But if a guy who is right now working really hard at some job that pays not that much money and takes whatever he can and lives maybe with his parents because he can't afford to buy a house because he's paying back his school loan, if that guy all of a sudden had that money back to where he didn't have to pay back all that school loan, if we could finance that by taxing the wealthy, for example, well, then that money would go directly back into the local economy, and then that guy could go out and he could purchase possibly a new car, or he could purchase possibly a house and down the street from his parents, and then he would buy furniture to fill the house up, and the rugs, and local people would get jobs selling that stuff to him. You know, I mean, if everybody doesn't buy everything on the internet. My point is that the whole philosophy behind the right wing nowadays is a can't-do philosophy. It's like we can't do anything in this country anymore because we can't let people have money. We got to give it to the rich people. If it isn't being going to the rich people, it's not going to work. If we run it through the government, it's not going to work. Well, that's wrong. I'm going to bring out like two guys I think about. Buckminster Fuller is a good guy I like to talk about. And he was an optimist. He believed the new technologies in the world and all of the ways that we could distribute the wealth would bring about a golden age in the future much better than it ever was. And I'm telling you something. The world has gotten better. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back a lot of times, but the world has gotten better since at least the end of World War II. There were great starvation around the world when I was a kid, I remember. There's hardly any starvation anymore in the world. I mean, we can make the world a better place. We can do it. With this attitude that we can't do a damn thing because the government shouldn't be involved, is just a stupid idea that some rich guy is trying to tell you. Ayn Rand is trying to tell you. No, I'm not talking about a communism or a dictatorship. I'm talking about like what happened under Roosevelt, under Franklin Roosevelt. He passed the Social Security, and Johnson passed the Medicare and so forth. And, ask the people now if they want to just give that back. Yeah, ask the people now. Let's get rid of Social Security. Let's get rid of Medicare. Let's ask some people about that. I don't think they want to give it back. And I think it's been a great boon. It's increased the life expectancy in the United States, and it has improved the life standards for everybody around the United States. That's what I think. And we can do more. We can do better. This attitude that the government can't do anything has been indoctrinated into you by some rich guy who's playing you for a sucker. And that's all there is to it.